This video was edited by AJ Analysis. I'll leave a link to his channel in the description below. So when I started thinking about the ball-winning central midfielder that Manchester United needed, one name came to mind, and this is his FB ref report, and you can see exactly why I think he's a perfect player for Manchester United. But then as I started analysing other options, I realised that there are quite a few options in this position. So I'm going to be analysing 5 of them in this video, which does happen to be the last of my Who Manchester United Should Sign series. The other episodes where I look at the right back, the centre back, the creative central midfielder and the wide attacker that Manchester United should be looking to sign will all be linked in the description below. But before I go any further, for cheap good quality football jerseys, retro jerseys and tracksuits, go over to www.jerseyfever.com. I myself have bought a number of different jerseys from Jersey Fever, including this 2003-2004 Manchester United shirt with Ronaldo on the back, and this one's probably my favourite. So if you want a shirt like this, be sure to click the link in the description below and use code ATLANTISFOOTBALL with a space to get 5% off. So before we look at specific options, we need to actually find out what Manchester United actually need from a central midfielder. So I've already talked about the creative central midfielder that I would bring in, with United also needing a player who can progress the ball forward with incisive passes, progressive carries, things like that. But for this player specifically, they need to be an elite level player in terms of winning the ball. I think this will give United a great balance. They can have a ball winner and a progressive central midfielder partnered in central midfield, giving them the perfect balance in central midfield to play pretty much any system, a 4-2-3-1, a 4-2-2-2, or even a 4-3-3, playing that high pressing game that we think Rangnick is going to pursue with when he appoints the next manager. And the problem with United's current central midfield options is that none of them excel either in winning the ball back or progressing the ball forward, and it should be mandatory that Manchester United have this sort of player in the centre of their midfield. I think both Fred and McTominay are decent pressing central midfield options, but they struggle when they're in one-on-one situations in the centre of the field, often allowing the opposition player to dribble past them in these one-on-one situations, allowing the opposition side to now progress the ball into United's half and now running at their back line. United need a player who can almost be an anchor man in possession, sitting behind the play and being the player to break up the opposition's attacks, whether this is from intercepting passes forward or moving over to confront players, putting in the tackle to win the ball back. But they also need to combine this with athleticism as well, something that Matic especially struggles with in that United midfield. So now let's get on to our first option, and I'll start off with the most high profile one that has been discussed in the media. It is Declan Rice. And the first thing to say about this potential transfer is obviously West Ham are going to significantly overprice him. And so before I get into analysing him, I would just say I wouldn't pay any more than £60 million for Declan Rice. And so even though I do think West Ham are going to be pushing for at least 70, probably 80 million, I have thought of a way around this, which I will come on to after I analyse the player. So I do think that Declan Rice has significantly improved over the last year or so. When he first started getting linked with Manchester United for around 40-50 million pounds, around about 2, maybe 1.5 years ago, I didn't want Manchester United to do the deal, as I thought Rice was being significantly overhyped for the type of player he was, and I thought there were much better options available on the market. But since then, I think Rice has dramatically improved his on-the-ball ability, and now he's not just a sole ball winner. He's still a very good ball winner. He's very good at reading the game, moving out of the midfield line to apply pressure to players, being able to put in a tackle in the centre of the field as well, and he's a very good reader of the game, knowing how to position himself to cut off passing lanes into players behind him, and he's very good at reading a pass, which is why he makes so many interceptions. You can see here from his FB ref report that he ranks in the 98th percentile for interceptions over the past 365 days when compared against every other midfielder in Europe's top 5 leagues, showing how good Rice is at not just reading the game but being able to provide the action to then win the ball back from this situation. His tackles and pressures are quite low compared to his interceptions, but this is because of the system he is playing in. He does play in a very passive 5-4-1 system with not a lot of high pressing, and so I don't think it's much of a concern, and I think he can adapt if he came into Manchester United. But he's also a very good progressor of the ball with the ball at his feet. You can see for progressive carries, he ranks in the 89th percentile. Whilst only ranking in the 34th percentile for progressive passes, showing that Rice is much better at progressing the ball forward when he's able to dribble through the centre of the field, which he is much better at doing than he is dictating the play from a deeper position, showing that Rice is much more of a box-to-box ball-winning central midfielder than a deeper line playmaker. Now Rice is only 23, so he's only going to improve, and at the minute I do think he's a top-level ball-winning central midfielder, and would certainly improve United's central midfield. In terms of signing him, I don't think West Ham are going to let him go for anything less than 70 million. So I think what Manchester United could potentially do is try to include Harry Maguire, Aaron Wan-Bissaka or Dean Henderson in any potential deal for Rice. I think they could do maybe Dean Henderson, who I'd value at around £30 million, and then maybe give them Wan-Bissaka or Harry Maguire on loan, with a potential option to buy to get them off the books, and then maybe paying around £30 or £35 million on top of that to get Rice. Now I'm going to come on to why Rice isn't my first choice option when I go through the other options. But first, let's come on to another Premier League central midfielder who has been linked with a number of clubs. It is Brighton's Jebez Basuma. And he is up there with the likes of Declan Rice and Ndidi as being one of the best ball-winning central midfielders in the Premier League. He's a very good one-on-one tackler in the centre of the pitch, which can be seen as this season he has completed the most tackles of any Premier League central midfielder with 3.7 per 90. Whilst only being dribbled past 0.5 times per 90, giving him an incredible 88% tackle success rate. He also ranks second out of every central midfielder in the league for interceptions with 2 per 90, and he also completes 1.8 dribbles per 90, which is the fourth most of any central midfielder. Which shows that even in possession, Basuma can be an asset to his side. He's very good at picking up the ball and driving past opposition players in the centre of the pitch, which is obviously very useful for progressing the ball forward at pace. He is a better technical player than Declan Rice as well, and he's also got a fantastic long shot on him. And I do actually think that Basuma is on the same level as Declan Rice. And when we look at his FB ref report, we can see he excels in the ball winning department, ranking in the 94th percentile for tackles completed, the 88th for interceptions, and the 91st for dribbles as well. Basuma's 25 and will be 26 by the start of next season, so he's not even in his prime ages yet, so I do think he can improve still. And come the summer, he'll have just 1 year left on his current Brighton contract, meaning that Manchester United could probably get him for around 25 to maybe £30 million, which is an absolute steal for a player of Basuma's quality. My next option is Ismail Benasir of AC Milan. And the 24-year-old Algerian international is a bit more of an all-round central midfielder compared to Basuma and Rice. He's definitely a better passer than those two, able to play incisive passes into players between the lines in order to progress the ball, but he's also got the capability of playing long passes over the back line to find on-running attackers as well, and combine this with his ability to carry the ball through the centre of the pitch via his body feints and quick shifting of the ball, means that Benasir is pretty much an all-round central midfielder. Like Basuma and Rice, he's an aggressive, combative tackler in the middle of the pitch, able to wrap his foot around the ball to win the ball back, either through a standing tackle or a sliding tackle, and he's like a pit bull in the centre of the midfield. And when we look at his FB ref report, we can see he excels in all the metrics that you would want him to. His ball winning metrics are incredibly impressive. He ranks in the 79th percentile for pressures, the 85th for tackles, the 88th for interceptions. He also ranks in the 96th percentile for dribbles completed and the 82nd percentile for both progressive carries and progressive passes. And this shows that Benasir is not just a top level ball winner but also a very good progressor of the ball, which is exactly what United need. He does have a contract at AC Milan until 2024, so we'll have just 2 years left on his contract come the summer, so I reckon Manchester United could probably pick him up for around £30 to £35 million. Also, if you do like the look of these phone cases, I'll leave the link in the description below. Anything you buy will help support the channel. My personal favourite is the Ronaldo Sue celebration one, even though I do also like the Fergie one as well. But be sure to go over to the site linked in the description. They've got a lot of other designs as well, and if you use code AF at checkout, you should get 25% off as well. So now we come on to my main two options, and the first is going to be Wilfred Ndidi. So Ndidi at the minute is probably the best sole ball winning central midfielder in the world, up there along with the likes of Idrissa Gueye and N'Golo Kante. But Ndidi for the past 2 or 3 seasons really has excelled when it comes to winning the ball back in the centre of the pitch. His aggression, reading of the game, athleticism and his long legs combine to make him a perfect tackling machine. He's got the ability to seem like he's everywhere on the pitch, being the perfect anchor man to break up opposition's counterattacks. And we can see how good he is when we look at the stats from this Premier League season. He ranks second for tackles completed with 3.5 per 90, being dribbled past 2.2 times per 90, giving him a pretty good tackle success rate of around 60%. But it's when we look at his FB ref report when we see how good a ball winner he actually is. He ranks in the 88th percentile for pressures, the 99th for tackles, and the 96th for interceptions. So you can see here that Ndidi is a world-class ball-winning central midfielder when it comes to solely winning the ball back. However, the problem for me with Ndidi and why he's not my main choice is his on-the-ball ability. You can see there that for progressive passes and progressive carries, he's ranking extremely low in the 18th and 9th percentile respectively. And whilst he is a decent long passer and he can circulate the ball quite well, I think he just about loses out when compared to my main option because he is going to be extremely expensive. He has got a contract until 2024, but I can't see Leicester letting him go for anything less than 50 million, probably as much as 60 million. But I do think he is worth that, so if United did make the signing, I would be still very impressed. However, I think my first choice option trumps all before, and it is Monaco's Aurelien Tchouameni. The Frenchman's only just turned 22 years old, but I already think he's a top level ball winning central midfielder, and when I show you his FB ref report you'll see exactly why. He's a fantastic tackler, able to either be a standing tackler moving out of the press to put in a tackle to win the ball back, or being the player to race across and break up opposition's counter-attacks. He has the athleticism, the pace, the strength that you would want from a central midfielder, and combine this with his tackling ability and his reading of the game, and you have an absolute ball winning machine in the centre of the field. But the reason why I love Tchouameni so much and why he's my first choice option is because he's not just a ball winner. He's also got the ability to drive out of a press, being able to turn the opposition player and use his power to drive forward with the ball, progressing the ball higher up the pitch. And when he is the ball in deeper positions against a deep defensive unit, he's got the long passing ability to switch play or create chances by finding long lofted passes over the back line looking for on-running players. So unlike someone like Ndidi, Tchouameni does have playmaking ability, and that's of course exactly what United need from any central midfielder brought in, and it's been one of the main reasons why United have struggled to break down deep defensive units, and not just this season, pretty much since Fred and McTominay became United's main starters. I think Tchouameni could play for pretty much any club in the world, and even the likes of Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, PSG should be trying to get Tchouameni in. And so if Manchester United were to make a move for him, not only would they be bringing in a player who's already producing top level output, but they would be bringing in a player who in the next few seasons could easily develop into a world class central midfielder. His FB ref report alone shows how good he is. He's ranking in the 99th percentile for both tackles and interceptions, whilst also ranking in the 70s for all of dribbles, progressive carries and progressive passes as well. Tchouameni does have just 2 years left on his current Monaco contract, which expires in the summer of 2024, so I reckon Manchester United could probably get him for between 35 and 40 million pounds. But I imagine there would be massive clubs sniffing around Tchouameni, the likes of Manchester City, Real Madrid, PSG, so United, if they do want him, will probably have to move quick, as I don't see Tchouameni being at Monaco for too much longer. So Tchouameni would be my first pick, with Ndidi close behind, and then in third I'd probably go for Benasir, then Basuma, and then Rice is my fifth choice, though I do think all 5 options would be good options if Manchester United were actually to sign them. So that was the final episode of my Who Manchester United Should Sign series. The rest of the episodes will be linked in the description below. I may do a recap going over all the players I suggested, so make sure you subscribe to the channel, click the bell for notifications, and check out some of the other videos which will be linked in the description below.